bum, bum.
Are there any benefits to having high DHT, dihydrotestosterone levels in the body? We all say it's not good for you, but is there a benefit? I say there is. Stay tuned.
That's huge.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your 30-minute weekly question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Whatever's on your mind, bodybuilding, non-bodybuilding. Sunday evening, so I think I'm going to be Dave. Upon us, Dave, you want to give a little primer as far as who fans can expect to see out of the videos that they're going to be seeing all weekend long from Alabama?
I can't believe I said last year this would never happen again, but we actually had it happen again. Lee Priest, unfortunately, won't be there, but we have the addition of Armand Adibi. Larry Pollock will be there as well, with Jimmy the Bull, John Romano, Greg Valentina, and his girlfriend. He can't travel alone. My videographer, Alexi, will be there. We will be filming Jumbo Palumbo, the documentary part 2. So anyone who's there in Montgomery, Alabama, has a very good chance of getting into that video. And the craziest stuff you do, probably the more likely you are to get into the video. Some of us will be pack meet in Green Mountain. I'm looking forward to seeing the entire Whack Pack and everyone. And we should have some very memorable videos from that weekend.
So let me ask you this, because last year with the Friday night event, it was a proper Whack Pack panel of sorts. Is it going to be the same thing this year, or something a little different? Or are you going to have like how you did?
And then really like that information that we provided.
Let's see. Let's just. They're not getting to the point. It's just getting on. Oh shit! What do I do? ACG.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining us at our next investor webinar.
HCG utilized with testosterone. HCG utilized with testosterone. Facts versus myths. Through this again for you guys, because so many men are starting testosterone, and depending on their experience and who they're getting it done with, there's going to be HCG in the mix, and there's a lot of questions on this. So let's run through some scenarios. First off, here's a myth that you could use HCG by itself for TRT, kind of like enclomiphene or clomiphene citrate, Clomid. That's definitely a myth. You could live on HCG, and we see this for prolonged periods for fertility, and some men just happen to end up using it for PCT, and they stay on it longer than they may have thought they would, but no one's going to use HCG injections for TRT. So that's right off the bat. Number two, HCG utilized with TRT, and this is something that's fact and myth. So it's not for everyone. When you start TRT, some clinics and some men are going to think this is for the newbies, that you're going to have to use HCG. My clinic says I have to use it. Well, that's definitely a myth. But the fact is that you can use concomitantly HCG, which means used together with testosterone, usually testosterone injections to retard against the atrophy of the testicle, maintain fertility, and I'll go into this in a bit here with fertility, and using it for ejaculation, where your ejaculate on testosterone becomes diminished, and using HCG doesn't only maintain the testicle wellness and the size of the testicle, but the ejaculation can be good. And also just for wellness. Some men think being on HCG with testosterone, they just feel better overall with this mix of endogenous plus exogenous testosterone. But I could tell you that it's not for everyone, and there's a lot of injections, and it's a lot of work, cost, and in the end, when you're on testosterone by itself for years and years, you're not going to be doing HCG. But let's get some comments, guys. This is where men come to hear my perspective and my medical information as an expert on this stuff, and then they look at the comments from men like you to see what's going on in the real world. The dose will be concomitant injections of HCG with testosterone, typically 250 international units, and this is going to be subcutaneous, small injection, 250 to 400, 2 to 3 times a week with the testosterone. Again, as I stated, the complications and the issues are going to be a lot of injections. It's a lot of work. There will be cost to it. It's difficult to travel with it for most men because you have to take it with you, and if you reconstitute it, it needs to be kept refrigerated. Unlike the testosterone, it's going to be different needles. It's a lot of work. And then in the end, the long-term data for downregulation has not been conceived or elucidated. So you can use it on and off. Some men love to use HCG with testosterone for periods of on and off, for the atrophy of the testicle, for the wellness, for the ejaculation, and just they like to use it just to potentially, with testosterone shutting down the hypothalamus pituitary gonadal axis, they like to use it to theoretically maintain that and to put a limit on that if they ever are going to come off testosterone. But there's no data for that. But again, this is where HCG utilized with testosterone, there's a lot of controversy and there's a lot of different types of ways that it can be done. And I definitely prescribe it for my men for the reasons I just spoke on, and it's man per man. So again, it's not one size fits all, but you need to talk to your healthcare provider about that. This is what you get with the Anabolic Doc app. Number 1, a digital history and physical exam. Number 2, weekly Zoom meetings with me. Number 3, discounted commercial labs. Number 4, weekly member-only uncensored videos. Number 5, Anabolic Doc's mailbag. You can't come to the meetings or you don't want to come to the meetings, you ask a question. I'm going to respond to your question by making a video, put it back up on the app, and you get to see your own question. Lastly, diagnostic and management library that is easily searchable by keywords. And then next we have HCG by itself for fertility. Absolutely fact. Matter of fact, most of the men I take care of that are younger, in their late 20s to 40s, that are still in their fertility age range, they will typically stay on testosterone without HCG and feel well and focus on that. And then when they're ready to have a child, we put testosterone to the side. And then we use doses, much bigger doses of HCG, 1,500 units. And this is going to be every other day. This is going to be more than you would use like 2 or 3 times a week when you're doing it concomitantly with HCG and testosterone with smaller doses of HCG sub-Q. This is really the IM doses, 1,500 units, even up to 3,000, depending on how shut down the man is, if it's a steroid user. And you could even add to this, remember, this is HCG by itself. You're off testosterone. You're just going for fertility. And of course, you're going to maintain your endogenous testosterone. You're going to get some conversion to estrogen, but it's a limited time, maybe hopefully for a few months or not too much more, because most men don't feel as great on HCG for a fertility regimen than they do being on testosterone. And as I said, number 1, that myth is you could live on HCG forever and ever for decades for just TRT, and no one's going to agree with that at all. But a lot of you guys don't know that. So using it for fertility as a focus itself, with or without Clomid, I like to add Clomid depending on who the man is with his history, it gets the job. It's synergy, you know. So adding Clomid to HCG for a man who's off testosterone, who's focused on fertility for this period of time, it's going to be a great synergy. I learned that during the pandemic when we had supply-demand issues with HCG.
It's time for me to grow the Anabolic Doc team. I'm looking for one of you guys. I'm looking for a social media promotion coordinator assistant to come on my team. So check out the description in the link for a very specific scope of exactly what I'm looking for and apply within.
What if you could earn commissions simply by offering 0% interest funding to business owners? I'm Leo Cannell, the creator of the...
And lastly, HCG to wean off of steroids absolutely can be valuable. There's data for that. Has to be done man per man, when you start it, how much you're starting, what the goal is, and how you use that to wean off steroids. And in addition to other drugs, right? There's SERMs and there's tamoxifen and AIs and of course Clomid and some other drugs. And it's man per man, and you have to watch those men very carefully so they don't crash, and there's psychiatric issues to work with. But so that's a fact. That's fact for HCG, using it with PCT for young men to help get them off. As I always say, getting from a high tower, in the tower, you're jumping off of a burning building from a high floor of 50th floor or higher, you're going to die. If you could use these agents, including HCG, which in my opinion is most important, to bring a man down, to wean him and then get him off, is ethically correct, and it's supported by some data, of course. But using HCG to wean a man off of testosterone, you're already down low if you're on this is TRT, not steroid doses. So for men that don't know what that means, it means you're just a newbie and you don't know what real steroids really are. Multiple steroids and stacking testosterone with other steroids, and you're on it for blasting and cruising periods and so on and so forth. Again, this is not, it can be used for that. Using HCG to, doc, I'm coming off TRT and I'm already on a very small dose of maybe 100 a week or much more, you know, using HCG in that type of utility, it's just, you're already low. Using HCG just is going to, in my opinion, murky the waters. And you could use a little HCG for a few weeks, but just you want to stop testosterone to let your brain wake up so your testicles come back. All right, guys, let's get a lot of comments. I thought I'd do a nice kind of quick, brief one.
Whatever, cuz.